сбили самолет, группа минера, за Янакиева упал. Сейчас поехали.
First of all, I started recording interviews actually for another project, and then in another part I start recording images and footage from Google Street View, and in some part they became together because some of the interviews are from displaced people looking for other places, and I wanted to reflect on how we represent conflict. So I thought it was interesting to put different layers of representation, one in interviews and another one in images. I think it's interesting how it works in the middle, like the layer in the middle of the narration and the layer of the images.
Да я еще пока не разобрался, потому что я не был возле основной части. Я только вот смотрю там, где
When you hear the interviews and when you look at the images, it sounds contradictory, and also I think it creates distance because you don't understand why you are relating these images to this person because it doesn't has anything to do with. But I was interested in to create it that conflict when you see it because I think it's how we consume conflict. Like we don't really know anything about it. And also when you hear something and then when you go to a place, because I usually also work with documentary and I really go to places in conflict. So when you hear news, when you see what is happening in the world and then you go there, it's completely another thing. And I wanted with this work to represent that contradiction.
Les Espagnols vont dire à la Gordia, pardon, si on rentre, la Gordia, pardon, si on rentre, ils n'ont qu'à nous laisser, on va aller. Ce que Dieu va nous donner, on va manger ça. Mais il ne faut pas, ils vont nous faire sortir, ils vont nous donner à les Marocains, ils vont nous tabasser comme des chiens. Les Marocains nous prennent comme des chiens ici.
Moi, je ne sais pas si la communauté nationale peut voir ce qu'on est là à expliquer. Si la communauté humanité peut nous aider un peu.
Mais les Marocains, ils nous tapent. Jusqu'à ce que vraiment c'est terrible. Oui. D'autres, grâce au bon Dieu, d'autres arrivent à survivre.
In general, I start with ideas. I always start with interviews. All my projects are based on interviews with different communities and in different cities. And then the interviews gave me the material to create different works. And it always takes different forms. I work with installation, with video, publications, even painting and photography. But it always, the base of this research are interviews.
I used to actually take a lot of photos at construction sites and I'll document these. And I used to do this a couple of years ago for fun almost. And it started becoming a project when I realized, I think it was a way for me to kind of capture time. And I see construction sites as very like romantic and I see like compositions, but I don't think everyone else sees that. So I guess I'm trying to show that in my work as well. And all these things at construction sites reflect like a passing of time in a city that's always changing. Yeah, so I think what I see are like almost movie sets, yeah. But because it's so boring and it's such a mundane thing to look at, nobody takes notice, and I'm that person that takes notice. Yeah, and I think the title is very reflective of construction sites because it's an accumulation of time that people choose to ignore. They really don't look at it at all, and the construction site is always like in between time. It's always in the making. It's in the process. It's never past. It's not yet future. It's where it is. And the lyrics were from a Radiohead song. Yeah, all the different elements are processes that involve time. So for the Polaroids, it's instant. You can't really change it. You get it on the spot, and you have to be there to take it. So it's kind of like a documentation of when I was there at that time. and how the thing was, because it changes very, very quickly. In a week it's gone or it's completed. So yeah, I think the different processes like reflect different stages of time. Like printmaking and silkscreen also, it's very slow compared to something so instant. Yeah. And what I do is with the photos, I kind of take out all the background and create kind of like placelessness with it. It removes the place, because I think at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. We're looking at the construction site itself. And when you have this placelessness, I think suddenly everything becomes quiet and removed, and that's where I start to take notice of it, compared to just the city life where you go past. Everything is kind of a reflection of each other, so there are a lot of cycles in the making process, and the same way the construction site has a lot of cycles. You remove it and then you build, and then you remove again and you start all over. And what print allows me to do is reconstruct the images how I see them in this very quiet space. And yeah, like I said, removing the places and everything helps with that image. The fact that it's in a school makes the interaction completely different and interesting. And if students get to see art on a daily basis, I hope at least the work gets them to think about something. Because I see a lot of construction going around here as well, and the bus stations nearby. So I think it's almost universal in cities that construction sites keep going and they're happening and nobody really cares. It's like a nuisance in the middle of the road. But hopefully they'll look at this and kind of reflect on their own country and see what's going on around them.
I came accidentally across this project. I have a friend who is living in London, and she told me that there is some building which is called the Baltic Exchange. And because I'm coming from Estonia, then it was interesting for me, why is there a place or organization which is called the Baltic. And then I started to research about it and found out that there is quite a big story behind it. It is so that the Baltic Exchange is a really old organization which deals with shipping information. And they had a neoclassical building in the middle of London. And 92, IRA put a bomb in front of this building. It caused really much damage, mainly to the buildings. Also, 3 people died, and the house of Baltic Exchange was quite badly damaged. This project is made half-half, half in Estonia and half in London. At some point, I decided to use subtitles in the video. Then I wanted to make the work not only like my comments or my understanding of the situation, but rather a communication between the actors who have been connected to these events. It was actually at the beginning quite clear that the most important part will be a documentary style film. So it is documentary, but not so, rather like semi-documentary. The project now belongs to a larger research field, which is about real estate development. So it's kind of a bridge between my previous research and the things I want to do in the future.
Meta Record is a digital print on aluminium board. It's, the work acts as a personal diary and a coded map, I could say, of a metamorphosis. Digital files from my work, any type of document, images or any digital file that I have stored for a period of 5 years, captured from the hard disk of my computer and arranged chronologically based on the importance for my life. I haven't changed anything. I just copy exactly the amount of information that was there in the hard disk for those 5 years, and then transferred it to a file and printed it. And because I didn't want to change anything, any file name, for those that they were kind of sensitive data, I just highlighted them and in a way hidden them from the audience. All those file names captures in a whole 5 very important years for my life that transformed me completely. My work in general is abstract work. The reason behind my art practice is to talk about the unseen, to skip the rational mind of mine and of the audience, and to try to communicate what we cannot perceive in our reality, what we cannot understand with our logic. Every artwork is like a white canvas for the audience. And in this white canvas, everyone can create with their mind something new. So they don't need to understand literally or rationally what they see. Maybe sometimes an artwork is there in order to allow the audience mind to get free and to become more creative, to let the mind be creative and get what they want to get from the artwork.